Folks, welcome to the last board game breakfast of 2014. And that means next board game breakfast, I'll be announcing the start of our Kickstarter for 2015. If you missed it, last week we posted a lot of our top 10s and best of the year. So go check those out. There's a playlist actually on our channel that you can see all those if you'd like to. And we did several live playthroughs last week. I played through Heroescape with Melody. I did some games with my girls, and Melody did her live show of her top 100 of all time. I will be doing another live Q&A today at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so come back and say hi to me there, ask questions. And it's time for the news. All right, it looks like if you haven't heard, there's been a lot of problems on the West Coast with shipping and things getting held up, and that's been problematic all year round. Well, it looks like we're starting to, might be some headway in the news. I just heard, for example, that Cthulhu Wars finally made it through, but there's been, that's been a pain in the neck all year. CGE is now going to be doing games on their own, bringing them directly to America. Before, they've worked with both Rio Grande and with Z-Man Games, and so they've announced that they'll be bringing Alchemist next year, which is a superb game. Bunny Bunny Moose Moose, which is a really odd party game. I was actually surprised to see this one being reprinted. Tashkalar, which many folks like. Shipyard, which is a very good heavy Euro game. Last Will and its expansion, and Dungeon Pets and its expansion. That's a lot of cool games that they have coming. Look forward to those. Rio Grande, on their other hand, announced some games that they'll be bringing. Rio Grande hadn't been making many games for the last few years, and now there's like all these new games. We have the new maps for Concordia will be coming, Antique 2, and some expansions for Bonanza, Ladies and Gangsters, and Princes, and something I can't read my own handwriting, but you can see the picture right here. That looks interesting. I've liked Bonanza, but is the expansion for a game that's been out of, well, not been out of print, but kind of out of style in a sense? Who knows? Although these expansions look kind of like their old expansions, but anyhow. Let's talk about something on the shelf. First, we have Medieval Academy. These are games I keep on my shelf. Why do I keep them here? Medieval Academy is a brand new game, but I've been bringing this to every meetup for like the last 2 months because it has gone over so well. It is a solid introductory game. I can't wait to see Yellow's version of this. People are really enjoying this card drafting game. Then we have Level 7 Omega Protocol. And anyhow, Level 7 Omega Protocol is a great game. It feels like XCOM, the board game. In a different way than the upcoming Fantasy Flight XCOM the board game. People have been wondering if Star Wars Imperial Assault will replace this, and not really, because they're very different games. This is a game that I think would replace things like Space Hulk and stuff like that, where there's waves of aliens coming, while Star Wars Imperial Assault's more of a storytelling game. Then we have Shadows over Camelot. This is a great game. I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. It's a lighter game than Battlestar Galactica and Dead of Winter, but a lot of fun finding traders. This is still a great game to bring out to people who've not played games like this before, and when you have a group of 6 or 7, really works well. And then Small Worlds, which is great. I have all my Small World stuff, or a lot of it, actually, not all of it, smushed in these 2 boxes. When I get my enhanced version, I'll probably get rid of these 2 because the enhanced version is that beautiful. But this is a solid game. Enjoy playing it. 2-player, 3, all the way up to 5. I'm not sure I'm sold on the 6-player map that came out, but I do like it 2 through 5. And so these just great games on the shelf.
Thanks to my iPad app version, I've played well over 100 games of Star Realms in the last couple of months. Great little 2-player deck builder that plays like a mashup of Magic, the Cerberus engine games, and Ascension. Tragedy Looper from Z-Man Games certainly takes the prize for most original game. If you like Groundhog Day the movie, but felt that it needed more suicides and murders, then Tragedy Looper is probably a game for you. Pandemic the Cure is Matt Leacock's dice-based take on his masterpiece Pandemic. One thing that the dice version does is it eliminates the alpha player problem. Because of the random factor of the dice, there is no one right choice to make. Therefore, Captain Alpha can shut the heck up and stop telling you exactly what you should be doing on your turn, because he doesn't know. and neither do you. Richard Garfield and Yellow return with King of New York. Now, one of the big detractions that King of Tokyo had for people was that it was just dice rolling, it was just random, there wasn't a lot of strategy. But King of New York fixes that. It's never going to be Twilight Struggle, but it does give you a lot more strategic choices to make. Now, for my favorite game. Unfortunately, my favorite game is not available yet. We had the privilege of being some of the judges for the FallCon Canadian Game Design of the Year contest. And one of the games that we tried in that contest was Disordered Dinosaurs by Yves Tourny, I hope I said that right, and Al Leduc. Fantastic physical game, set collection game. It did not end up winning the prize for that contest, but I really hope that it does find a publisher and gets produced in 2015. It's definitely worth looking for. Well, that's it for 2014 in review. We hope that you got to play as many games as I did. Don't forget to leave us a comment telling us what your favorite game of 2014 is, now that you know what mine was. Also, remember to send your questions, if you have any for us, to asksnakes@snakesandlattes.com. So from everyone here at Snakes and Lattes, have a happy new year, and may your victory points be plentiful.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at an insert for Robinson Crusoe. This is from Robert Searing, who incidentally is the webmaster for Dice Tower and the head of DicetowerNews.com. But he made me an insert here from his website, inserthere.me. Now you'll notice this one's shorter than the box. That's because this is the insert made for the Z-Man version of Robinson Crusoe, which is smaller. And I got this one because it also fits the expansion for Robinson Crusoe, the Voyage of the Beagle. So you can see here that it holds everything, all the different cards, and has this tray which can come out, so you have some of the smaller cards and some of the smaller pieces and the dice, and then in here we have some of the pieces that might not be used quite so often. So you have this double tray. This foam core that he uses here is very solid. Everything fits together, and then I simply put everything else that I have on top of that, the board and all the cards, and then the lid fits right on top of there. So anyhow, if you're interested in that, you can find his stuff at inserthere.me. And if you use the coupon code DICETOWER, one word, you get 15% off. Hey guys, let's go on to the rest of the show.
So, I like El Grande. I like El Grande a lot. It's one of my favorite games. I realize I should talk to the camera, not to Tom. But, so, El Grande is one of my favorite games because it is amazing. It's super elegant, right? And the rules are super simple. And there's the placement, the choosing of the turn order, which also gets you more guys to then place on the board, and it's area control. And it's so amazing, right? So here's my speculation. Worker placement games, like there's a lot of different worker placement games, that because all of them are a little bit different, and some of them are like, this is a really good worker placement game, but I don't like it. And this is a really good worker placement game, but I don't like it. And there's not a lot of area control games, I think, and I suspect, because El Grande is like perfect, and why bother, right? If you want an area control game, why play anything other than El Grande? That's what I think.
Hi, Suzanne here. This has been an amazing year for board game apps. Let's take a quick look back at my top 5 board game apps for 2014. First, let's start with an honorable mention for Battle Lore Command, which released quite late in the year, so I just didn't have enough time with the app for it to make my top 5 list, but it looks amazing, and it's got some interesting gameplay tweaks to the way you use cards that I think make it really intriguing. And my number 5 app goes to Hearthstone. Like my friend Marty from Rolling Dice and Taking Names says, if this app had asynchronous play, it would basically be perfect. Tons of cards, beautiful production quality. This is the card dueler you should be playing. And my number 4 goes to Ghost Blitz. I know this may seem like an odd choice, but Ghost Blitz is a fun, quick app that people of any age can play. I think the developers put a ton of thought into how to implement that quick twitch mechanic in the digital world, and they succeeded, earning them a top 5 spot. And my number 3 goes to Star Realms. Anyone who follows me online knows I pretty much had to put it on my top 5. I play it daily. It's slick and it's quick. Yeah, it's got a lot of luck involved and it can be really swingy, but it's just a ton of fun. My number 2 app of the year is Sentinels of the Multiverse, which almost made it to the top spot with its smart implementation that makes solo play Sentinels a breeze. I love this app and I can't wait for the expansions. And my top app of the year goes to Galaxy Trucker. Like Ghost Blitz, the developers of Galaxy Trucker had a challenge with that real-time element to the game, and I think Czech Games Edition just blew it out of the water end to end. This is how a board game app should be done. It's beautiful, it's thoughtful, and it's fun. Galaxy Trucker is my must-have board game app for 2014. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched and provided positive or even constructive feedback on my segment this year. With games like Pathfinder Adventure Card Game and Ophir hitting devices next year, I think 2015 is going to be an exciting year for board game apps, and I can hardly wait to share them with you. Have a great new year!
Our productions this week, we're going to continue to do some more live shows. I think we'll do 2 more this week, maybe 3. We'll definitely be doing a live Summoner Wars, me versus Melody. We got to do a rematch for our Heroescape battle. Now we're moving to Summoner Wars. That will probably come out tomorrow. And I'm thinking about doing a Habba Dabba Doo game where I play Habba games with my other kids, or at least I'll play some games with the kids. Look for that coming later this week, and there might be another one, so keep your eyes peeled. Also, for reviews, folks, we got several games I'll be taking a look at this week. Cubo, a dice game from Queen. Waggle Dance, another dice game about bees. The expansion for Arcadia Quest. A rail game that you might have missed from R&R Games called Spike. And then we have Orcs, a deck-building, stylish type game. And from the guys who made Tide of Iron, Crosshairs. And more castles. This is an expansion for Castle Dice. Remember this game with this gigantic box that needed something to be put in it? Well, 10 more of these and we'll have it full. A game that's been very popular, Orleans. Did I like it? You'll have to come back and find out. Clocks. This is a very unusual game. Then my kids will help me take a look at Mustache Smash, Headbands Act Up, and then a game that's very similar to Carcassonne, Trian, or Galaxy of Trian Deluxe. So anyway, all that's coming this week. Also tomorrow on the Dice Tower podcast, we'll be doing the second half of our Best of 2014. You might have seen my list of that already in my video, but Eric's there and a whole bunch of our contributors. We also talk about several other categories, so that's being posted tomorrow. And of course, all the rest of our shows on DicetowerNetwork.com. All right, what do we got next? Oh, Chaz, of course.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and we're counting down my official top and bottom 3 games of 2014. These are the standouts that I played this year for the very first time. And today is the number 1 standout, my favorite game that I played for the first time this year. The game in my number 1 slot is a fast and seemingly simple dice game. The first time that I saw Las Vegas, I thought that this was going to be little more than just rolling dice to earn play money. But, okay, because I'm a charitable guy, and because my ride home was the one asking me to play it, I figured I'd humor him, and I'd give Las Vegas a try. Life changed. In Las Vegas, 6 numbered casinos are available to bid on, and each has a random cash jackpot assigned to it. Players each start with 8 dice. On your turn, simply roll your dice. Then select all the dice of any one number and place them on the corresponding casino. Simple. This process continues in turn until each player has placed all of their dice. Then, the bidders with the most dice on each casino win its cash rewards. But here's the catch. Any tied bids on each casino are removed before they're scored, which may allow a previously lower bid to win the jackpot. The game plays fast and simple, and it utilizes a wonderful mix of planning and luck. Oh, you can strategize, but sooner or later, all your planning will give way to the luck of a dice roll. Las Vegas is compact, which is great because it follows me now wherever I go. It's the kind of game that you could play at a convention, as a filler, with family, or even internationally over Skype.
Oh, Canada.
All of these reasons and more are why Las Vegas is not only my favorite game that I played for the first time this year, but already one of my all-time favorites too.
Hey, Jason, this question is for us. I'm Tom Vasel, by the way.
I'm Jason Levine.
And our question is, what is your favorite 4-player or 8-player Dice Master team? I first of all would like to say, I don't ever play a 4-player. That's baby play.
4-player,
No, that's what they tell you to play in the book. That's like the beginning play
that's
when you
only
play
when
the
you
starter
start with
pack.
a basic deck and you've used all 8 characters.
8 is where it's at.
It's
8 players, 20 life. Do it. Jason doesn't want to give out his team because he says it's a trade secret. So
it's a trade secret because we do
Really?
have that challenge. We do have the challenge out there for Eric and Mike, and we can't tell them exactly how we build our deck.
okay, but
because
talk about
if
some of
we
your
do, they're
favorite
gonna
players. Then
know. There's a whole bunch of favorite players. Obviously, everyone's going to talk about the Green Goblin with the Black Widow.
yeah, but that's changed now that Uncanny X-Men's out. It's not
it's
nearly
changed
as
a lot, but
powerful.
that was a very powerful combo in the first set.
There's a pretty good powerful villains combo, I think, at this point in time, and a powerful X-Men combo. Some of my favorite characters, though, really like the Quicksilver. Quicksilver is great at taking out
Quicksilver's
sidekicks.
great. I like the Silver Surfer, especially at the beginning, because you could gear up and get like 5-6 dice really quick and get some cool characters out really quick with the Silver Surfer.
Kitty Pryde not being able to be blocked is a very useful person.
Yes.
And Magic, who can come back from the dead.
Yes.
Very powerful die. Those are some of my favorite characters. But I'll tell you this, for me personally, unless I have maybe been joined by someone and challenged the designers of a team, unless that happens, I'm just going to play whatever. And so I will make a team usually based on theme. I'll play some X-Men, or I'll play, some of the Avengers, or I'll play a group of villains. I'm not really trying to make the team I'll try to make the best possible team that I can out of the
Thematically.
theme that I've picked, but I'm not sitting there trying to min-max the game like some.
Let's see. The last time we live played this, what did I play?
No, that's true.
I picked the whole deck with the heroic. What's the thing when they combine? When the 2 dice they combine.
Yeah, heroic.
Heroic. So I played all 8 different heroic characters in one pop to do a heroic deck.
Yeah, but I think we're
Obviously
going to
got
do
crushed.
We're going to do that from now on. I think when we play is just the whole drafting thing, where we draft characters and then you pick from those characters different itinerations.
Yeah, it's a good way to play. But after we do our challenge, then hopefully this question will come again, because I will talk more about how I deck build my deck and what I put into it and how I plan for
Secret. But what if you lose?
transport.
What if we lose?
If we lose, then I'll still talk about it. And I'll talk about how bad it is and how Mike and Eric are so much better than us, and we will publicly apologize for all the stuff we've been saying over the last few months.
Okay. All right. Anyway, that's our question for today. I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
And you can send us questions at dicetower@gmail.com. Okay, well, last week I talked about my top 10 predictions for 2014, and I think, a lot of them correct. Now, some of them seemed obvious, some of them were maybe a bit generic, so weren't that hard to fulfill, and some were just lucky, and maybe one was based on insider knowledge. Who knows? Same thing, I'm going to do 10 predictions for 2015. I assume I will get many of these wrong to balance out the many I got right last year. But who knows? These are just things that I think will happen. It may be based on common sense, maybe inside information, but I won't put a lot of stock in that. Just educated guesses or maybe hopeful guesses. I'm going to give you the top 10, but in no particular order. These are 10 things I will think will happen in the board game industry in 2015. Number 10, I think that we will see a 15-year-old or older game be reprinted out of the blue. You'll see this game and everyone will be like, what? Wow, I never expected that. Something that no one is expecting. Now, I have a particular game here in mind, but I'm hedging my bets by saying a 15-year-old or older game. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I also, on the same thing, that my number 9 is very similar, I think we're going to see 2 deluxe games come out this year, similar to the deluxe Small World that was being, I'm counting that as last year, even though it's coming out in January. But like a 10th anniversary style, because 2005 was an amazing year for games. And so we're going to see some, I'm going to say 2 deluxe versions of some of those great 10-year-old games. At least 2. All right, number 8. I think we're going to see at least 10 games announced or produced this year that heavily use the Android or the iOS interface, similar to what Alchemist, XCOM, and Golem Arcana have done. So we're going to see at least 10 more. The swarm is coming. That's what I'm saying on that one. Number 7, Gen Con. I think Gen Con is going to grow even more this year. Well, that's not a hard call to make, but I think I'm going to say you're also going to hear more complaints about this year Gen Con than any other. I think it's going to reach the point of being overcrowded, and everyone's going to say, I loved it, but blah, 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 blah. You watch. All right, number 6, the Spiel des Jahres this year. I'm going to predict the Spiel des Jahres game that wins this year is going to be a very big hit. I'm not talking Camel Up. I'm talking maybe Hanabi or Carcassonne. I don't know if it'll be that big. I'm not ready to predict that, but it's going to be a hit and everyone's going to love it. It's going to be the obvious winner of the 3. That's a total wild guess. All right, number 5, I think a fairly well-known board game company is going to undergo a major scandal this year. Now, yes, of course, that seems to happen a lot, but we'll see. It's not going to be some mom and pop. It's going to be a bigger company. Who knows? Number 4, I think the Magic the Gathering board game is going to be huge. Wizards of the Coast is going to promote it. It's going to blow up. Board gamers are going to like it. Magic players are going to like it. Everyone's going to be playing it. And then in 5 years, you'll never hear about it again, except for a dedicated fan base. That part we won't be able to check for 5 years, but that is Magic the Gathering's MO. Unless the game's called Magic or Pokemon, they leave it by the wayside after a while. But here's hoping, but I think it's going to be big. Number 3, I think this is going to be a year we're going to see a lot more heavy Euro games, a resurgence of those. We saw a few last year, but not terribly many heavier Euro games. I'm talking Kanban and games from Spielworks and splatter type games. We're going to see a lot of those this year, at least 10 maybe, that are just bigger games and heavier games. Then number 2, I think that, board games and role-playing games. You're going to see them mentioned in a positive way on at least 5 times this year on major talk shows. I'm hoping with Colbert moving to a big talk show that's going to help that in some regard. But I think it's going to happen. We're going to see these come into the mainstream. Many times RPGs have been a joke, but I think you're going to hear about them on a very positive level at least 5 times over this year. And then number 1, and this is my hopeful one, is that some company will announce a grandiose galactic-wide Star Wars game. I'm not going to say Twilight Imperium 3 as Star Wars, although that would be cool, especially since this is the 10-year anniversary of Star Wars, and they can go back and make my number 10 come true. Of Twilight Imperium. It's the 10th anniversary of Twilight Imperium. But I think it will be different than Twilight Imperium. It will be just some grandiose thing, and it'll be little miniatures, and it'll be this really cool overarching Star Wars saga game. We can hope. And yeah, those are my predictions. Why don't you tell me what you think will happen this year? Say it in the comments. Tell me how wrong I am or how right I am. Who knows? We won't know for at least a year or so on most of these. Anyhow, it's time to get to Jared so we can get the show moving.
Last week, we talked about Dungeons & Dragons, how it celebrated its 40th anniversary in 2014, and how many of us play board games instead of RPGs because they're so much more difficult to run. In fact, an entire cottage industry within the board gaming community has developed specifically to scratch the D&D itch. Games like Munchkin, Descent, and Defenders of the Realm are all designed to replace D&D. The best example, the zenith, if you will, of this cottage industry is Lords of Waterdeep. An incredibly popular game, Waterdeep is number 6 on the People's Choice, and it's also on the top 100s of Eric, Tom, Sam, and Dan. Yes, a lot of people will say it's just a mid-weight Euro with the D&D theme pasted on. And to a point, they're right. The weird thing is how popular Waterdeep is compared to other dungeon crawlers with the D&D brand on specifically. These are fun games, certainly, and they were designed to introduce people to the 4th edition mechanics when they came out. But those mechanics were still a little bit too complicated for many people's tastes. What this shows to me is that the D&D brand is more important than the D&D game itself. And it's a brand that, frankly, unfortunately, is going to waste. The thing that's holding D&D back is the same thing that's made it so great for the last 15 years. Wizards of the Coast. You see, while D&D may have the superlative brand recognition that it does, it's still ultimately only a property that WotC inherited. D&D is also not WotC's biggest moneymaker. That honor again goes to Magic the Gathering. The investment website Motley Fool ran an article earlier this year estimating Magic the Gathering's annual sales as $250 million. Compared to that, D&D is just copper pieces on the gold. But there's obviously still gold in them thar hills. So as we bid 2014 adieu, I plead with Wizards of the Coast to develop more high-end board games like Lords of Waterdeep for all of us at heart who are just a ranger, a barbarian, a magician, a thief, a cavalier, and an acrobat.
And that's it for today, folks. Come back at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some questions and answers. I'm going to try to make this a regular Monday update for me, and so I can talk about different things. Look for some of the live sessions we do. We'll be back to regular reviews this week. We got some cool stuff coming up. I'm bursting at the seams to tell you some of it, but it's on there. The website is really close to being done. We're talking like within a month or two. It's really exciting. Anyhow, folks, I really appreciate. I think 2014 was a great year for the Dice Tower. Here's hoping we can help you find out about some more great games and be just as slightly entertaining as we are in 2015. Guys, you're the best audience ever. Happy New Year.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.